So I'm just waiting on Daniella to join us. Today's podcast is about spiritual healing in Jewish mysticism
Oh,
or Kabalah. Tina, welcome, salam,
thanks.
shalom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Join.
Thank you. We manage.
We manage. Amazing. I'm so excited to see you.
Me too. Me too. Me too.
So over there in Mexico right now.
Yes, I am in Mexico,
Yes.
in a little island in the middle of the sea, because the sea has been a very important teacher for me.
Beautiful.
And it's, for everyone, it's the great teacher, you know. It's
Yes.
written in the Psalms, Darkecha Hashem b'maim rabim. Your ways are in the deep waters. Yeah, and this is why so many people, you know, looked for God. You know, even Jesus, the fishermen, Jonah. You know, everybody really had to go deep and delve deep in the waters. So
I'm
that
already,
is we are in this island.
I'm already feeling like I'm diving deep into your words. Um, yeah, I think if you want to talk, I'd like to introduce to us who you are too, and particularly how your healing work and your spiritual path, how is it so interdisciplinary? What does it mean by
Okay, I don't hear you so well, but I hope you hear me well. Okay,
I
because
think
the voice comes and goes. Okay. So I will tell you a bit about my spiritual path that is not, you know, the normal way somebody gets to study Kabbalah. Okay, so first of all, yes, I come from families of very big Kabbalists. I'm talking about the time in which the Jews lived in Spain before the Inquisition. Okay, in that time there was a great flourishing of Kabbalistic knowledge and also of Islamic knowledge, yeah, before the Inquisition, yeah. And so I had two forefathers, yes, who were so important. One of them was the advisor of the Queen Isabel and Ferdinand, and the other one was Rabbi Shimon Labi, who became the doctor of the King of Morocco when they had to leave, you know, Spain. Yes, so Don Isaac Abravanel went to Italy, while Rabbi Shimon Labi went to Morocco, and he became the doctor. He was an alchemist. He became the doctor of the King of Morocco. Yes, and also of all the poor people, because for him, poor and rich Arab and Jews were the same. Yes, and then on the way to Israel, because at some point he felt the call to go to Israel, he started to go and walk, you know, with his camels to Libya, and then he found some Jews who had been there since the first century, you know, during the Roman occupation, and they were in such poor conditions. He decided to stay and became their, you know, the main Kabbalist. So I had this DNA in my blood. But my family came from a family that lived the trauma of fascism, because you probably know that in North Africa, you know, there was, you know, Italian occupation, and they were, you know, they were connected, they were allied to the Nazis, and there were concentration camps and everything. So when I was born, you know, I kind of was given very little information about all this glorious background. Yeah, and I discovered it little by little in strange ways, because when I felt the call to know about God and the Spirit, I came to Mexico because I had read all the books of Castaneda and yeah, the big yeah.
our
Uh, yes, so I met a shaman who was 120 years old, and he really showed me he knew what he was talking about. Like, he was doing these incredible soul journeys to the stars at night, He would just go, his soul would go and come back and tell me things, this is just happened to your mother, to your father, and he knew everything. And then after a year that I was following him and I was seeing how he was treating people with herbs who were really his allies, and talking to animals, to trees, and to angels, then he told me, okay, now you must go and learn about God, and I taught you whatever I could, go. And he sent me away from Mexico, which had become kind of my second home. And obviously, the first thing I did, I went to India, because in everybody's mind, that's where you go and learn about God. And I went to India, and in both places where I went, one was Rishikesh, in this great ashram. And the guru told me, being Jewish is karma, so why don't you study the Torah? And I didn't listen, and I went on to the Buddhist monastery in Dharamsala, where the Dalai Lama was. And a monk there came and gave me this book, The 13 Petal Rose, which is one of the most beautiful books about Kabalah that you can read. The 13 Petal Rose by Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. Really small book, but very. And I was there in India, and I was just saying, wow, I got it now. Yeah. So it was incredible. It took me a long time to go back where my forefathers had left, the way. And that is why I'm so attracted also to transgenerational psychology, because I feel that many times our problems are not our problems, they go back, to, yes. And so I went to Israel, I met the rabbi, became my teacher, I was studying with him and with other very great rabbis for 20 years. And then this same rabbi told me, I think that you learned enough Torah, and you must keep learning, And so he advised me to do so. So I went back to California, went back to Italy, to California, and I studied Chinese medicine, I studied Jungian psychology, and I kept it. And then, providence, synchronicities brought me back to Mexico, And I'm here, to share also with Jews, non-Jews, to whoever is attracted to this knowledge that is really universal. It's for everyone, because the Kabbalah is beyond,
So,
just
just to summarize, you just told me, which means that you have you you have learned Buddhism, you have learned all these along with Jewish mystical studies, God, soul, who were being you're able to all of this knowledge and apply it through your deep knowledge of your deep knowledge of God. You apply it to body, right?
yes. If I heard well, because the internet is really bad, but
I,
maybe write to me the question. Write it really fast, can you? So I don't answer you the wrong.
I
Yeah, the voice is interrupting, so it's not only me that I'm feeling this. Your voice comes and goes. Yeah, but doesn't matter. You write, please. Yes, okay. So why the body? Why the body is so important? Okay, because in the Jewish tradition, in the Kabbalistic tradition, you have this idea of the four worlds, which is Atzilut, Bria, and then emotional world and the physical world. So the body, the emotion, the mind, and the spirit. But the mind, the spirit and the body are in reality so connected that it's really the same thing. So when we say God is one, we also intend that the presence of God in my mind, yes, is totally connected to the presence of God in my physical organs. And this, we know it both from the prayers. There are a lot of prayers in the Psalms, in the Proverbs, that they say God checks the Klayot, Valev, and God is checking our bowels. God is checking our stomach. God is checking our kidneys, our heart, because because whatever disalignment we have with our mission gets inscribed in our physical body. That is why, for example, also the Chinese acupuncturists, the moment they put a needle in a certain point, they are saying we're going to unblock some spiritual, energy that got stuck there because we didn't do the right thing in the right moment. Or, there was something, some energy coming to us that was maybe a violent energy or something, and we didn't know how, yes, and it got stuck in the body. So the work with the body is so important that, for example, we don't, every time we go to the bathroom, we go out and we say such a beautiful and long prayer. And when I became Orthodox and I was still working, in the world of normal people, so-called, So I was working for a review called Rizza Psychosomatica, and the people, go to the bathroom, come back, and then I'm speaking for a few minutes, They said, what's happening? I said, I'm thanking God, and this is the prayer. Listen how beautiful it is. Blessed are you, God, who created men and women, with infinite wisdom and infinite channels and organs. If one of them got obstructed or blocked or open, I wouldn't be able to stand in front of you, not even for a minute. Blessed are you, God, who heals every flesh and makes miracles. Can you imagine, in the middle of the day, 10 times a day, you are remembering that God is talking to you through your body. Yeah. So,
Remarkable. Really beautiful.
yes.
Hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, I hear you better now. Yes.
My
Yeah.
my 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 phone was blocked. That's why. So I
Ah,
fixed. So
okay.
so so I'm really really touched by this idea of remembering God, because God is our source, God is our home, our soul is yearning to unite with the beloved. And, I want to share this with everyone over here that when I spoke with Daniella, there were so many things that I realized were so identical between the Jewish wisdom and the Islamic wisdom. In fact, Daniela wished me Assalamu alaikum, and she said, God is great, Allahu Akbar, and it was so beautiful for us to be able to connect like that. And when I said Nafsur Rahma, she said, we also have Nafsur Rahma. And the word Ruh and Nafs and Ruhul Qudus, they are all like Ruah al Kodesh. I think I was reading it in the Hebrew. We have similar words. Um, we have so much in common. It's far more in common than we have any differences. And Kabalah actually is the Irfan or the Sufi side of Judaism, the deeper esoteric side of Judaism, where you go deeper into the mystical world, where the yearning is to unite with God. And for that, we purify ourselves, we purify our soul, we try to emulate the beautiful characteristics that are God's characteristics, the Prophet's characteristics, which are prophetic, which are beautiful, the Asmaul Husna, like we say, the good characteristics of the prophets, in order to get closer to God. eventually find unity with God. And I personally understand this as a way of healing because, like, I think when blockage in our spiritual body, then that starts to manifest or starts to show up in our body as ease. Discomfort as a blockage. And there are magic or the hidden wisdom or the hidden healing of the letters of the word. And Daniela has written a beautiful book. She's written a beautiful book called The Secrets of the Hebrew Letters. And I then found out that majority of the Hebrew letters are identical to the Arabic letters. They're just a lot of those words actually even mean the same. So yes, um, uh, Daniela, please go ahead. I will allow you to speak now. Thank you. We also have a question here. How can we make a better connection and more alignment between the mind and the body organ?
Oh, see, yeah, that is so important. And that is, for example, what brought me at a certain point back to California to study Chinese medicine, but classical Chinese medicine, not the Chinese medicine that the communists sent to the West. So the communists took away from Chinese medicine all the strong spiritual teachings and sent us something that is working fantastic, but there is not this aspect of reconnecting also consciousness to body. A real acupuncturist, the moment he's taking the pulse and putting, he's saying to you, okay, I'm going to do the physical work, but you do the spiritual work. Yeah. For example, once he felt I was really, very sad. I'm seeing my family that is not so aligned. And he felt it in my pulse and he said, okay, I, I put the needles in the right place. Now it's your time to do the work. I put the needles on a point of Chinese classical alchemist acupuncture that it's called scream to the ancestors or something like that, gate to the ancestors. Okay, so there is in Chinese medicine, there's various kinds of Chinese medicine. There is a Chinese medicine that is really capable of making this connection. But by studying a bit more about the quality and the attributes of each one of the organs, we can start to make our own healing, starting becoming aware of our disalignment in each one of the organs. Okay, so this, for example, class, then
Great. Sorry.
okay, now yeah, internet is not always in every place very faithful. So
Yes.
okay, but we'll go on. So what I was saying is that even in the Kabbalistic tradition, there is a teaching which is talk to your organs, have sichat ivarim, have a talk with your organs. So what I do generally, I teach the general quality of each of the organs on the energetic level. And then I give the advice to the people to get either a Pilate ball, okay, or anyhow to do some exercises of Qigong to be able really to connect with the life and the feeling of each one of these organs, which represent our psychological, emotional, and spiritual life. You know, they are not just a physical thing like Western medicine teaches us. Okay,
Yeah.
so in the Jewish Kabbalistic tradition, each one of these organs is also connected to a letter, is also connected to a time of the year. Okay, for example, now we are in the month of Tishrei, which is a month of Libra still, yes, and we are getting into winter. So if we can get connected to the fact that little by little the tree is gonna lose its leaves and it's gonna come little by little to its essence. Okay, so this is the work we have to do at the beginning of autumn or fall. Yes, which is okay. Let's get to know our deepest essence because the winter is coming. And when the winter comes and the water element comes in, we must be prepared to receive this water element. The water element, which is related to our kidneys, contains all our genetical inheritance, all the talents of our ancestors, all the traumas of our ancestors, all the traumas we went through in our mother's womb. Okay, so there is the jinn, is the deepest self. Okay, and so this deepest self has to come out. It cannot be stuck there. Okay, so how does it come out? It gives the energy in Chinese medicine. Each main organ is the mother of another organ. So the water is the mother of the wood, which is the liver. Okay, so all this jing, all this constitutional energy we receive, it's passed to our liver, which is called the commander of the army. The liver is what helps us to go and do what our self knows we have to do. Yes. So the liver contains huge amounts of blood. The liver is connected to the tendons, to the muscles. Okay. So even the qigong exercises, okay, can help to connect to each one of the organs. So if your liver has been nourished by the water, the liver is called the tree energy, okay? Because a tree no one can stop. When a tree grows, it grows, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it needs the water of the roots, yes. So if the liver is doing its work, then the heart, which is the next organ, yes, can be inspired like fire. So the liver is the wood that gives warmth to the heart. And the heart is the capacity to connect, to speak. They say that the heart opens in the tongue. Okay, so the capacity to connect to other human beings, to connect to God, yes.
To the remembrance, to the
Yes,
remembrance of God's names, of the sounds and their vibrations. So the sound is connected to the heart, and the heart is connected to the liver, and the liver is the mother organ.
is the
And
child of the kidney, yes. And if the heart, who is called the emperor, the heart is the king of everybody, everything. If the heart, they say, is in its place, yes, then the next organ, which is the stomach and the digestive system, yeah, can do its work. Why? Because the earth needs the sun, needs the warmth to give its fruits. A tree is not going to give fruits if there is no rain and no sun, okay,
yes,
and no warmth, okay. So what is this digestive powers on the level of energy? Is the capacity to digest life, the capacity to say, okay, this has happened to me. Why? Like the poem you were reading, yeah. Everything
Yes.
is written there. We just have to ask our body and our soul that is connected to our body, why? Why did it happen? What did I have to learn? Yeah. So we can come to very, very deep insights about our relation with God and to ourselves by listening, yes, to all these
To listen by
messages.
the body.
Exactly. That is why in Sufism, I know, and also, especially also in the Jewish tradition, in the Temple of Jerusalem, okay, the Jews mainly, okay, they were praying, they were doing sacrifice, offering, but they were dancing. Some of the highest moments of this connection with God was through dancing. Why? Because in that moment, if you dance from your heart, yeah, you are able to establish a connection between soul and body. Such a connection that is like the connection between God, the male aspect, the young aspect, and the Shekhinah, and the physical body. You know? That is why, I'm so I admire the Sufis because they have kept this tradition of talking to God by dancing. I really,
Mhm. So, you know, they dance clockwise, they'll dance anti clockwise, just like the planets uh, revolve on their axis anti clockwise. And the earth goes around the sun in the anti clockwise direction. And then they remember the name of God. They're reciting the name of God. And that's why they say to breathe in with the name of God and then exhale whatever you don't need, like any negative thoughts or enmity or resentment. You breathe it out and you breathe in the name of God. So when you were saying that the tongue is connected to the heart, that's why, you know, the remembrance of God affects the heart. And it creates healing. So I'm really intrigued by the effect of the sound vibration on the organs. I also want to mention that in Sufi healing, we have the four humors. The four humors, like you said, the four worlds. And we also have the four elements: earth, water, fire, and earth, water, fire, and air. And then the fifth one is sometimes ether. But the four are the main, humid, wet, dry, cold, um, wet, dry, cold, and hot. The four humors, they're used for healing. And I think what you're talking about is identical because we also work with the four humors and they affect the liver. So liver is a very key organ in healing. Um, in fact, in homeopathy as well, they talk a lot about the importance of the liver.
yeah, in the gematria, in the science of numerology, the numerology of Kaved, which is liver, is 26, which is the same as the word name of God, the tetragrammaton, the Yud Hey Vav Kei. Okay. On the other side, Kaved is also a protagonist of all the dialogue with the Pharaoh, because Pharaoh is always answering to when Moses says, okay, let my people go, or come and listen to what God says. And in the Bible we read, Lev Paro Kaved, and the heart of Paro had become Kaved, which is a liver. So this is a liver that is not doing the will of the king, because the liver, as the general of the army, is this very powerful organ, sometimes can forget that it has to listen to the voice of the kidneys, which are the prophets, according, yeah, and the voice to the king, which is the heart. So it can make a golpe, okay? Yeah, there are so many people who are creative or, people who are into politics or art or whatever. Once a person has a lot becomes an influencer, yes, he can use his power in a way that is not okay. And
Yes.
like everything has its opposite, yeah. So the same as you know, a powerful representative of God or the truth, sometimes can have sudden falls. And that is something that we hear, in the Islam, in the Jewish tradition, that in the end of times, many times it happens a lot that spiritual leaders just become corrupted and
Yeah.
they are not serving the king, you know. And this
Yeah.
is written in Jeremiah, one of the big prophets, and they say that you false prophets who are saying shalom, shalom, where there is no shalom, and you are curing the wounds of your people just in the surface. Yeah, and this today is happening, and that is why, for example, many people leave religion, because they don't find anymore this straight connection, to God.
To the to God. Yes. Also, one thing I read some, I can't recall where I read, it said that the Mother Earth is the feminine divine energy, because it is the creative womb of every creation on earth, and it has been plundered. The mother has been exploited, and that has led to bleeding of the mother, the pollution, the corruption. And so when our mother is diseased, when the mother is crippled, when the mother is exploited, then the source is getting exploited. The womb of creativity, creation is getting exploited. And that has led to so much, lack of consideration, empathy, kindness, love, compassion in the world. And there is so much hard-heartedness.
Yes, yes, and in this aspect of God being compassionate generally is represented by the feminine aspect of God, which unfortunately is not enough spoken about. Okay, so Christianity had to come in, with the idea of Madonna, the mother of Christ, okay, just to fill up, yes, this missing link that was so important in Judaism, the Shekhinah, it all the time it was saying that, if I do something, if I do a precept, the Kabbalists before doing anything were saying, I pray that with this act, I'm going to join Hakadosh Baruch Hu Ushechinato, God, the male aspect, the transcendent aspect of God, with His presence, to reveal Him in the material reality. And what is happening to Mother Earth is a total insult to the one of the faces of God, which is, one of the names of God, Elohim, is the same gematria as Hateva, that is nature. So
Okay.
every insult we are doing now, for
So,
example, with all these wars that are happening or made happen, there is thousands of ways of dolphins, of animals that are suffering, and species extinct, and no one is saying anything. Everybody is thinking about the price of the gasoline and everything,
yes,
but we are not, for example, in the Jewish tradition and in the Islam tradition, the idea of kosher and of meat that cannot be eaten if it has been taken from an animal that has suffered, okay,
yes,
is so important. Why? Because they say that we are receiving from the world and from human beings the same treatment we give to animals. and if the animals are treated in this way. And today, it's not so easy to kill an animal in a way that is kosher or halal, like you say. Why? Because the animal has been suffering all his life. And it's no more, that he's killed there in peace with somebody who is blessing him or praying. He's hearing his mother and his brother who are being killed in front of him, and he's seeing this, and we are taking inside ourselves all these sufferings. So we have to think that the Divine Mother is now talking to women, because it's the women who have the responsibility of the real education of their children. It's not only you send them, okay, to a religious school. No, it's the woman who has, to teach the child what I can eat, how I eat. For example, I taught my children. We used to have a nice garden in Israel. We were growing food. Also here we grow a bit of food. Never to take, a piece of, anything from the garden without saying, hello, can I, thank you. Yes,
Beautiful. Yes, because there's a mindfulness. It's not mindless eating and scourging and exploitation. It's not mindless. You become mindful, you become accountable to the creator, become accountable for your actions, and that is what presence of God in Quran we call it taqwa, to have this wariness. You're wary. There is a presence, there is an eye of God watching over you. You're always in the presence of God, who to whom you are accountable. So each moment is a moment of accountability. In the first chapter of the Quran, it says, Maliki Yawmiddin. He's the master of the moment of accountability. So we are under the master who is the master of our every moment, and we have to be accountable for it. It's when we lose that presence of God in our lives that we exploit
yes.
ourselves, our body, and by feeding our body the wrong things, also we create so much disease.
Not only the wrong things, but also with the wrong attitude, in the sense that some people are eating also, but the moment they eat, they are not really blessing the food. They are not being really, aware who created this food and what effort there has been, from nature, from everywhere. Yes. And you were saying something very interesting about that in each moment there is one action which is the right action to do. And one of the reasons why we are so disaligned is that at a certain point religions came and said, okay, these are the precepts, these are the 613 mitzvot, or how many you have. And they forgot one thing that in Judaism is called Horat Sha'ah. That means every hour has its teaching and its mitzvah. Like you see an old man who was just run by a car, and it's not written there in the Quran what you have to do or in the Torah, but your heart should tell you that, okay, I'm gonna see what I can do. Yeah, and the same thing, what is happening today in the world is something that should call all the mothers to say, I take back my responsibility as representative of the Shekhinah in the world, because things have kind of escaped from our hands. The children with this instrument, with TVs and eating. My children used to eat very good food until they went to school, and they saw everybody eating, the chocolate, the candies, and everything, and women lost a lot of the role as the real teachers. So I'm so happy you have a group of women with you who are working on the fact that it's important to recuperate. I think I can help a bit sharing some of the wisdom about what is the right food for the right season for each organ. Yes, I think I can also share some of the ideas of the Kabalah as far as the main precepts that we should keep all the time. Like have holy time, holy space in your life, yes, and a holy attitude to receiving people and guests. This is something that I really love, for example, in the Islam tradition, is the idea of the guest. You know, for example, in Hebrew, the name, the term for guest, which is oreach, has the same letter of the word ruach, which is spirit.
Wow.
So you know that Shabbat is an important day for, and you cannot have this if you don't have guests, because the spirit comes with the guest. And what I felt in Israel when I lived in Israel is I was so close to the Bedouins. The Bedouins, you can be in the middle of the road and your car breaks down. I remember I was going from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea. My car broke down. Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I walk into the desert because they like to live there in the desert with the tents. Yeah, and I arrive and I ask, can someone help me? He said, okay, first sit, drink your tea. You know, there was this guy who was playing this flute. Yeah, and potentially I was an enemy because I was a Jew, but in his home I was a guest from God.
Wow.
And in the village where we lived, in Migdal, just in front of the Sea of Kinneret, yeah, our best friends were Bedouins because we arrived in their house and we were kings. We were actually kings without need of invitation, without need, yeah. And so there are things that we have to revive in order to revive this society.
So Prophet Abraham was very famous for having guests and having an open banquet of food. And the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he always said that guests are a blessing. He said that when they go, they take away all your negative energy. They cleanse your home, they cleanse your soul, they cleanse your heart. So we see that in the sayings of the Prophet. And when you were talking about the face of God, and you were saying that one of the names of God is nature, there's a verse in the Quran which says, wherever you turn is the face of God. It's a beautiful verse. Wherever you turn is the face of God. So everything we see around us is conscious and it is sacred. It's a
Yes,
difficult.
yes, you have to discover it. Yeah, for example, the four directions, yes, are the base of every mystical teaching. Also here in Latin America, and in America, they turn to the different directions. You know. And it is in the Kabalah there is a lot about this, and we have to become aware of this. We have to become aware that we are in the middle of a cosmos that is all the time talking to us. Unfortunately, living in cities, yes, we are forgetting where is the east, where is the west, and we have to find again the capacity to connect. Even if we are living, like, I love what you do. You told me that you sit on the roof of your home and you watch the stars and you put your feet in a little pack of earth, and that's it. That's all you need to feel connected to sky and earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I sit and drink water and I try to have all the elements with me. And because we connect with our environment. And somebody said that when the inner landscape goes out of alignment, you need the outer landscape to bring it into alignment. And
Exactly.
like you were
That's why you
saying,
light a candle in a moment. In a moment of, you light a candle, when your own light is dimming, you light a candle. And that
Beautiful.
is why the idea of the mikveh, in the Jewish tradition, when you are in a moment of transformation or you're sick or you really, what you do the mikveh. What is the mikveh? Which the Christian religion took as the baptism, okay? But the
Okay.
baptisms that they are doing is just they spread a bit of water, and now the
Right.
mikveh is an immersion in water in which you must almost feel you're drowning, You go back to the womb, yeah,
Mm.
to the primary, and
And
you
neon.
come back. Yes, yeah.
Wow.
So
Like a
connecting connecting to the elements, yes, it's so
yes.
important.
And we're constantly birthing and rebirthing in who we are. So the Holy Prophet Muhammad, he said that your 2 days should not be equal. You should not be the same on 2 days. You have to be changing constantly. And Alan Watts, he's a mystic. He says you are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 seconds ago. So you're constantly birthing and rebirthing and changing and bettering yourself. In fact, I was listening to some talk, and they said that, in the mystical journey, when the wayfarer is initiated, the word initiated actually means that now you are being initiated into your growth. So your growth is starting, and you have to be constantly changing now because you're growing. Every day you're changing, like a baby becomes a toddler, and the toddler becomes a boy, and then the boy becomes a teenager, and the teenager becomes a young man, and then an old person. So there's a constant evolution and constant change. So we can't be stagnant. And I think that our bodies at times become messengers to talk to us and say that there is something which is very wrong deep inside of you, so pay attention.
Absolutely. And and for we women, connecting to the moon, it's an instrument to keep this renewal. For example, the Jews, they have this ritual every time that there is the new moon. Yeah, it's called Rosh Chodesh. That not only means the beginning of the month, it means new head. Rosh Hadash, new head.
New
Okay.
head, new
Yes,
head.
yes. And the women once used in this day of the new moon not to work. They had no obligation to work. No husband could say, okay, where is the food? Okay. The women used to take time for themselves, yes, and to be reborn every month according to the different, constellations that were moving. Yeah. Even the New Year, the Jewish New Year, which is called Rosh Hashanah, okay, can be read as Rosh Hashanah, that means another year of sleeping, or can be read as Rosh Hashinoi, the beginning of a change. Like you were saying that you cannot be the same as you were yesterday. And also our prayers, according to the Jewish scholars, they say, don't make your prayer keva, something that is all the time the same. No, because God gets bored. Sometimes you must really think, you say, okay, do you have something new to tell me? Or a new song, For example, there is in the Psalms, it's written, Shir Hadash, we will sing you a new song. So
Okay.
we are really called to transform all our, for example, the Jewish word for anguish, which is tzara, okay, can be transformed, the letters can be transformed and become ratzon, moment of grace. If we are able to take, for example, in the Jewish tradition, really, it's not so important to pray 3 times a day or 5 times a day. It's important to pray in the moment of tzara, of difficulty. Because in the moment of difficulty, the same as when we are sick, the first tendency is let's call the doctor. Let's look who is gonna help me now, okay? And while
Yes.
in this moment, you really have to talk to God and say, okay, what I do now? Yeah,
We
is
become bewildered, become panicked. We leave our center. We don't stay grounded when a calamity comes. So to find that grounding even in a difficult time. When you were talking about changing the song, in the Sufi circles, when we do the dhikr and we're chanting the name of God, our teacher tells us that the minute everyone starts to get really lulled into it, like they're just losing their mindfulness, they change the tune. They change the way they're singing. They change it because they want to make them mindful again. You know? So
don't let them asleep. Fantastic.
yeah, and even when we do our 5 times prayer, one of the ways in which you stay mindful is that you change the chapter of the Quran you're reading. So you're more mindful, you're thinking about the meaning, it's something new, so you keep changing the chapters. You don't say the same chapter again and again. So that was really beautiful. And then when you were talking about, when we get sick, first we remember God. I think as Muslims, we're asked to pray Bismillah Rahman Rahim, say the name of God before anything you do. I think it goes it goes to say that everything, every action has to be blessed with the name of God, whether you're eating, whether you're working, whether you're taking medicine, everything has to be blessed with His name.
Yeah, and do you do it? And the Muslim people still do it? Anything they drink and eat, they bless, yes?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes. We have to say Bismillah. We
Yeah.
say, I do this in the name of God, who is kind and merciful. We say that
Even
before
when you
everything.
take a medicine and everything. And this is so, so important because one of the reasons why many of the Jewish kings, for example, fell from their place is when they were sick, they just thought they could take a medicine. So King Solomon, at a certain point, what he did is he burnt the famous book of remedies that had all the remedies of the Jewish tradition. He said, no, if you're going to think you're sick and you're just going to take a medicine, no way, no way. So obviously we have the duty to take care of ourselves, to take the right food, the right medicines, but we also have all the time to remember that it's God who's giving this medicine the power to influence you.
Absolutely wonderful. Yes. So I think that the reason why energy healing attracts me so much is because it aligns you with the all power of God. In Arabic we say Allah kulli shayin qadir. He's the one who has power over all things. And what that means then, it's whether it's a Panadol that will take your sickness away or whether it's any medicine, it's him who puts the efficacy in your medicine. So in the end, to remember that everything is going to bring healing when the healer intends it, when the healer wills it, when the source intends it to bring healing, that's when the healing will come. And I think it brings us back to that oneness of God, the all power of God, and realizing that there is really nothing but God.
Yeah, it's so beautiful what you're saying. It really makes me understand why they say that in the end of times, there is a tradition to say that the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael, the descendants, they will really come back together. Because for example, I experienced maybe the deepest prayers in the cave of Machpelah. You know what is Machpelah? It's in Hebron, where Abraham is buried.
Wow.
Okay, so in this place, at different hours, the Muslim come and pray, and at different hours, the Jews come. Yeah, and in that place, they don't kill each other, but outside they do. Okay, but it is so incredible, you know, to feel the similarity between these two religions. Not only the words, which are very important, because obviously if you talk a language which is almost the same, yeah.
Yes.
And so it is, they say that in the end of times, you know, one of the things that will help the process of redemption is going to be that the Jews and the Muslims, you know, will start to embrace again, you know. And
Beautiful. I have tears in my eyes, and my heart is so full hearing this because I feel such a deep connection with everything you say. It is so precious and sacred. And I was talking to one of our other Jewish friends in Jerusalem, and he was telling me how they also pray for the Messiah to come day and night, and we also pray for the Messiah to come day and night. There is so much that we unite on because in Jewish mysticism, it's all about there is only God, everything is dedicated to God. There is there's no partner in God, there's no division in God. So we're so alike in the way we perceive God. And in the end, God is one, and we have this word of Tawheed, that God is one, and we want to emulate oneness of God. And oneness is about coming together, all of us coming together and becoming one.
yes, yes. And then the religion will have to accept this because the heart of the people wants this oneness. And they have to go back to the real heart of the religion. For example, according to Jewish religion, there is no difference in the Olam Haba, yeah, in the world to come, between a Jew who has kept all the Torah and a Gentile who has been connected to the one God all his life. There's no, if a Gentile didn't do any, kind of adorations or other gods, or has been not ethical, because one of the names of God is, like you said, is Rahman, so you cannot be unethical. In the day of Kippur, which is the biggest day of lots of rituals and the Jews fast and everything, then we read a piece of the prophets that say, I don't want your fast. I don't want your prayer. I just want you to do social justice and take care of the poor, the sick, the
Beautiful.
widow, and yeah. So this is what religions have to bring back, into their, its morality towards all, in the Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden, Hava is called Em Kol Chai, the mother of every being. The
Beautiful. We all
animals.
Amma Hava, we call her Mother Hava.
Oh,
Uh, yes. And Hazrat Adam is called Baba Adam, father, Baba Adam. So Baba Adam and Amma Hawa, the parents of humanity. So we're all one. And this is what I love when you talk and I talk, we find so much similarity. When I was talking to you about God being Rahman, you already said God is Rahman, from the womb. From the womb, and I was telling you that like the womb, He takes care of us and nourishes us, and you knew that already. And it's so remarkable to talk and unite under this one umbrella of the oneness of God. This is truly remarkable, and I hope more and more of us can do this.
exactly, exactly. This is the time of the people and no more of, the institutions that, unfortunately. And yeah, so I would like to propose something. We'll have to think a way in which, for example, for myself to be part of a group of women who do some singing together and dancing. It would be so fantastic. Now, I don't know exactly how you could do this online, but maybe we can think and
Yeah,
also we can share, we can study together. I'd be super interested, for example, in learning something about the four humors that you were saying, which
Yes.
are also the base of what Maimonides was talking about all the time. Yes.
Wow.
So it would be so fantastic to make a group of study searching on the Arba Marot, the four humors in the Arab tradition, you know. Maimonides, our biggest doctor, studied with Arab doctors. They were
Wow.
his main, yes, yeah.
Okay.
And
So
to
we have Ibn Sina. Ibn Sina, he wrote a lot on medicine, and he became the
yes,
father
Avicenna, yeah, he was,
of
yes,
medicine.
yes,
Yeah. So I have his book, and I will share with you whatever I can find, and I hope we can talk again, maybe on a slightly different subject or something, whatever. Absolutely, I would love to have you again, and
absolutely.
I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And to everybody that I haven't met, I didn't see their faces, but thank you for being and sharing. And I hope that this connection between us can spread to more women and bring back. There is a saying that as in the time of the going out from Egypt, they went out of Egypt only in the merit of Nashim Tzidkaniot, of the holy women. And they say in the last redemption, it's going to be the same. It's going to be in the merit of the holy women. Yeah,
Wow.
because they say the last redemption is going to be like the first redemption. Everybody's slave of a pharaoh, but this time it's not one pharaoh. It's all the pharaohs who got together, you know, and they are holding humanity as slaves.
Yes.
Yeah, and the women again are those like in the end of like in Egypt, they went out only thanks to women. You know, the men were doing golden calves, you know, and they were trying to steal the jewels to the women to make the golden calf. And they said, "No, you don't take my gold to make golden calf. Sorry."
Wow. See it like that. Wow. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense. Thank you. That was really, really remarkable. I think you're an ocean of knowledge, so much wisdom. Um, and unfortunately, we've come to the end of our session today. It's been an hour. But I do hope that we'll catch you soon again.
yes, me too, me too.
And
Keep exchanging, and let these faces of God find each other.
beautiful, yes. And I hope that I can meet you and hug you one day.
Absolutely. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you in Cozumel. Absolutely. Yeah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
With-
Yes.
eh, Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Daniela. We learned so much from you. With all the love and blessings, may God give you beautiful life, long life, full of blessings and love and joy and laughter and teaching us for a long, long time. Thank you.
And to you too. To you too. All the
Thank you.
health and the happiness and the strength that you deserve to do your work.
Thank you so much. Take care. Shalom. Bye
Alone.
bye.